King of the Road.
It's the 225th episode of the King of the Road show. I'm Jim King of the Road. Thanks for watching. Before we get to this week's show, I'd like to remind you to log on to the all-new JimKingofTheRoad.com to register for a lot of great new prizes, including these beautiful new King of the Road t-shirts, compliments of Tees Lakeside Depot. They do great work. Put them to work for your business or organization by calling them at 409-565-9958 or visit them on the web at lakesidedepot.com. That's Tees Lakeside Depot. Tell Sam and Teresa that King of the Road sent you. At JimKingofTheRoad.com, you can also register to win a one-year membership to World Gym Beaumont. The drawing is coming up on December 18th, so get registered soon. That's the all-new JimKingofTheRoad.com. Coming up during the next 30 minutes, we'll air my recent exclusive with country star Luke Bryan. We'll also check out Sugarland's latest music video on King's Music Clip of the Week, sponsored by Starvin' Marvin's Bar and Grill in Beaumont. But first, we'll cruise back to McFaddin-Ward House in Beaumont to visit with Dr. Katie Robinson-Edwards, Associate Professor of Art at Baylor University.
One man has the power to take you behind the scenes. Jim King of the Road.
Jim King of the Road.
Katie Robinson-Edwards, nice to meet you. She's the Assistant Professor of Art at Baylor University. We're at the McFaddin-Ward House Visitor Center, and you're going to give a lecture in a couple hours. And what are you going to be talking about here?
Well, a lot, and we're hoping that our audience can bear with me. But really, the McFaddin-Ward is focusing on the 1940s right now. So everything in the house is geared toward the 1940s, and they had Dr. Ralph Worcester in here talking about World War II and Texas. So Alan Lee, the curator of collections, invited me to come and talk about American art in the 1940s. And so I'm going to talk about American art, which is predominantly New York school, abstract expressionist, drip, splatter school of Jackson Pollock. But also, I want to move and look at Texas art, because one of the things that I've noticed recently in the last couple of years is that Texas art doesn't get a lot of attention. So it's sort of a bifurcated talk where we look at comparisons between the two and make an argument that Texas art is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's an example here.
Yes. That's a Texas artist there?
It is. He is an artist. This is something that the McFaddin-Ward has in their collection. But this is an artist named Thomas Lewis, who was in Texas for a while and then moved to Towson, had a very well-known, much bigger career in Towson, started an art gallery. But this is also, Alan said this is from about 1940, and this is the kind of art that people tend to like, because it's representational, it's realistic, you can relax to it.
Don't go, what is that? Like they would for my father's artwork sometimes.
Oh.
So I'm glad you liked what you saw.
Oh no, I like it very much.
I just showed her some prints of my dad's work.
Well, and in your dad's work, you can still identify the images. And the problem that people have with abstract art is that the images, they don't know what it is.
Right.
It comes from the subconscious.
It takes imagination to figure out what's going on there.
It takes a lot of effort. And it made people cross. That's the other interesting thing. They sometimes were angry about the art. Yeah, you know it well, don't you?
Well, just to talk about my dad for a moment, they had a retrospective of him when I was living in Odessa. I was doing radio out there. And I was real honored that they did that. It was about 20 years after he died. This was probably in the mid-90s. And I was at the show, and some lady came by one of the paintings I was looking at, and she said, I just don't get it. I don't know what all the fuss is about this guy. And she knew I was his son, so it was very strange.
One of my favorite cartoons is by Peter Arno, New Yorker cartoonist, and it's done in the 1960s. Jackson Pollock died in 1956, but it's making fun of the work, and it has you can imagine this, but I'll give you an image of it too. But it has two gentlemen looking at a Pollock-style painting, and they're dressed in really nice clothes. And they say, one of them is making his judgment of the painting, and he says, his dribble is masterful, but his spatter seems insincere. So you see them trying to get the language to talk about this and try to develop, and it's just like that. I just don't get it.
And not everyone understood and appreciated the artwork of my father, William A. King, but he became a well-known artist in the southwestern United States before his untimely death at the age of 50 in 1976. In In fact, my dad was listed in Who's Who in American art. He also became the very first chairman of the art department at the University of Texas of the Permian Basin in Odessa back in 1973. Here are some samples of my dad's work. My dad, William A. King, earned his Bachelor and Master of Arts at the University of Tulsa in the early 1950s. He also studied art in Florence, Italy, and had one-man shows and exhibitions all over the world. Anyway, the King family has always been proud of Bill King. Even though some of his art wasn't understood by everyone in our family, I happen to love it, and I'm the proud owner of several pieces of his work. There's more than just Bubba down here. We do have some good artists. We've got some talented folks here. By golly.
It is. Well, and you find it's a lot more than Bubba. And you'll find that even some Bubbas have some pretty interesting tastes in art. So it's not just cowboy and Western art or bluebonnets.
Well, especially here in Southeast Texas, it's so rich. There's so much talent here in just every field. Like Rauschenberg, you mentioned. You know, we've got all kinds of athletes and movie stars and country stars and rock stars. From right here. And so we're glad to have you. This is Katie Robinson Edwards. She's assistant professor at Baylor University. I went to Texas. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't mind. Thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun.
Thank you. It's the King of the Road Show. Coming up next, King's Music Clip of the Week featuring Sugarland and brought to you by Starvin' Marvin's Bar and Grill in Beaumont. And later we'll air my exclusive with country star Luke Bryan.